Welcome to Necessi-Tea. I'm Marguerite Pierce.
And I'm Lindsay Jackson. Today we have a special guest, a good friend of mine, an educator, an actress. I feel like you're a philosopher as well in some shape, way, or form.
I'll take that.
I knew you would. And so her name is Alaina Freeman. So welcome to Necessi-Tea, Alaina.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. If we had like a hand clap, it would go, yay. So Marguerite and I are excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here.
Dope. And so we really wanted to talk to you about your role in education. Now, I know you from middle school. I've known Alaina since
12.
Middle school, 12 years old. Baggy clothes, bangs that just was like
Columbia jackets.
Yes. Oh, yes. The bugaboo joints, double layer. But we also went to college together as well. Yeah. Just crazy how the universe brought us back in alignment.
Right.
Back together again, which was wild.
Yeah.
That's like a whole nother episode.
That's a whole, oh my God, you have no idea.
A whole nother episode. But tell us how you got into the field of education. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Well, my journey to the field of education has been through my family. So I come from like a family of strong women where I feel like their generation probably was a generation that was just able to get professional jobs after slavery. There were like the hairdressers, the barbershops, where in my mom's home, her big thing was like, well, she wanted to live a certain life because my mother's from Hunts Point. So she really promoted education. You can do anything you want to do. You can have all the playtime you want to have, but please have a degree behind your name. Even if we understand it as a system, there's still some importance behind having your degree and being established. Right. So I feel like I was kind of pushed. Okay. Because if they left it up to me, while I liked learning, I was more of a creative learner. So I didn't care for the structure of school at all. The irony of me being a teacher, right? So I didn't care for the structure. I didn't care for the listening to what someone's telling me to do in those moments. Right. So for me, it was like education, I don't really care for it, but I was pushed. And then once I loved it, I took off on my own. Like once it became like a part of me, I think it was like during college, I started to kind of see my own power in how I was learning because now it didn't have to look like it did in school anymore. Right. So from second grade, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Now, the irony of me saying I didn't like education at all, I remember telling people in second grade, like, I don't like school, I don't like teachers, but then at the same time wanted to be one. Right. There was something about this woman that was kind of controlling this room of kids. It kind of just was like, oh.
What's that teacher's name?
Miss Nicholas.
Because we will always remember, those teachers that set that example for us.
See how that happens off the back, right?
Yeah.
Miss Nicholas, she was my second grade teacher, which is why I always said I want to be a second grade teacher. She was like at that age where, you're still really, really young, but you're about to now be in like the third grade. You're kind of getting older. You're aware of boys. You may be talking a lot. You're kind of getting into yourself. And she was this person who always spoke positive, even at times where it was like, I was talking in class. I was being disrespectful. Right. And it's like, well, no, you're a very expressive girl. Right. And we love that energy. And I used to be like, ooh, I like this teacher. I love this teacher, Right. The way that she would handle those things. And she was a very young teacher at the time, too. But I vividly remember her. I remember the classroom. I remember the way she used to wear her nails. It was almost like she was always in control, even when we weren't. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. So she set that example for you. So you went to college. What did you study when you were in school?
I studied many things. Psychology, and I was an English education major. So when I went, again, didn't like education, loved reading. So with any test, I never studied. But when I moved to Teaneck from Mount Vernon, I had taken a test like for placement for high school, and I ended up in honors English. And I remember telling my mother, I don't want to do no honors. What is this? Because, the course is a little harder. We were studying
more
Shakespeare.
More demanding.
Yeah. I'm in 9th grade. Everyone is in 12th grade. It was like, what is happening? Loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Once I then got to college and, did the reading, I was like, I want to be an English major. If I'm going to do education, I wanted to involve reading, understanding reading, the thought process, expression. And so, yeah, I did English education and psychology, minored in psychology.
And then you graduated, and then you went back to school.
I had the nerve.
Yeah. Again, back to that second grader who didn't like school, right? Now it was like you were thirsting for it, you were longing for it, right? And
I knew I was in control now, right? So now I was always a kid where I gravitate to these children in my class now where prove it, or what you're saying is opinion. So let's not act like it's so fact. You're not the most correct person in the room. So I was that kid. I get them now, and I'm like, really, Alaina? But I totally understand it. So I did go back to school because at that point I knew I was in control of it. How I wanted to learn, the speed of it, what I wanted to learn. So yeah, I went right back. And it was after subbing, because when I came from school, I started subbing at a school that we went to my middle school. And it was funny because I always would say that if I become a teacher, I'm going right back to Mount Vernon, because I moved from Mount Vernon to Teaneck. And I always felt like I missed that little part. And I was like, I'm going to teach. So I then was a substitute teacher there. And as I'm subbing, I was getting paid a certain rate without the benefits. So I loved the money. I loved the freedom because I was working at a nightclub at the same time. But then it was like if I needed to go to the doctor, it kind of messed me up. So I was like, okay, if I'm here, even though I know I want to pursue arts, that was understood. I still need to make it more official to where I still get the benefits of being a teacher since I'm already doing it, you know? So yeah, I did go back to complete my master's, and I ended up doing a double master's because now it's like, now I'm like, oh, I want to deal with special needs. And here's the funny part with the special needs children. I went to do the master's in it and never got the license in it. So now I have this understanding of children with special needs, but I'm in the general ed class. So I went back, right? Talk about not a glutton for punishment, you know? But it was like one of the best decisions I made, only because I was able to see what I could do. You know, it wasn't any when you're young, you're told what you can do. You know, people will see you, and based on wherever they are in life, they're like, oh, you know, that's hard, or this is. Once I was able to see, no, actually, you can do this. And with speed, I started then trying to crunch a lot of things in a certain amount of time. So after that, did the Fulbright. Like, it just went on. Everything just ended up being education. Right. And then I stick out like an anomaly, right? Because it's still education, but I still, you know,
shake the boat a little bit.
Just a little tiny bit, because I don't think education has to look one way. And I think that's why I ran from it, is because it looked a one way. You know, the people that loved education looked one way.
Do you think like your interest in it as a profession is fueled by your experience as a student? Like, in terms of you didn't like it, so now you want to be a part of it to change how it looks and how other students experience school and the structure of school, right? To be in control now of how somebody else learns.
Right. I think it's a mixture of that, as well as when I was a young child, my mom was a social worker. So she spent a lot of her time, she had 2 jobs. My sister was older, I was youngest, so I had to kind of go with her everywhere. And that even meant then going to support children that were in need, going to their homes to bring them gifts. And then talking with the adults and seeing the adults. And I was always a kid who would look at adults behaving badly and feeling like almost like you had a lot of practice, you should kind of know better, or wanting the adjustment for it to be different. So now as an adult, I choose to be the adult that I know I wanted and needed, whether you walked into my room or you see me wherever. Like if I'm claiming the role of the adult, the role is now to play it. So yeah, I think a part of me was to be that person in the room that I needed, also, as well as to implement the things that I want as well.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like that you took that experience and wanted to like do something about it instead of being like, oh no, I hate education, and just go completely. Just go completely away from it and dive into something else.
Right, because when people say education, the thought is like of the system when it's like learning. Right. So I did love learning. I didn't know that I didn't like the setup of it. You know. Yeah. So it was like, I like learning, Ma, I'm talking because the teacher's boring. You know what I mean? Like, I love learning, but I don't want to do it right this minute. Like, it was those things that were happening. Yeah. And in knowing that as the adult, I can monitor that in my room. Right. So it's not a situation of dictatorship. It's like, I know you're here. We're both here. Right. And sometimes I'm going to ask you to do things that you do not want to do. Right. And I'm not going to die. Right. And you're not going you're not going to die. It's life,
But do you think like that acknowledgement, I feel like, goes a long way, right? Because in the classroom, you need some level of cooperation from the students, right? And so they all can't be doing their own thing in the 30 minutes of the hour or whatever. But if you talk to them as individuals, like your second grade teacher did to you, like acknowledge that you like to talk and express your opinion and not do so in a negative manner. Just change your whole mindset.
Yeah, changed everything about it, because now my talking, because when children are doing these things, it has nothing to do with the teacher. Right. So my talking to her talking while she's teaching wasn't because I want to be disrespectful. Exactly. I just have to tell Aisha Brown what just happened at lunch because it was so important. It was like life or death, So that's it. And that's everybody's life.
I love that.
No, seriously, though.
True, right?
And
nothing. That impulsivity that young people have, that I don't care about all of this happening right now. What I'm thinking about is when this bell rings, right? We're going to get out. I gotta get us ready for that. Let me tell you about the right. That is so funny.
And adults have a habit of thinking, like, once a kid knows a rule, then if they break it, it's like nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Everything to do with them. And in knowing that kid walking in, even though they're 6, they think they're just as important as me, or if not more. Right. So they're looking at me like, what's the big deal? Like, I have to get this out. So if I know that those are your needs, and I'm allowing you to address them, or I give you time to address them. If I'm speaking, you're not even going to there are children that will tell everyone else, wait a second, because now it's more of like, we get it. Right. So we don't want to disrespect you. We don't want you to feel like that. We like you. Right. Because they usually do like the teacher. Yeah. We want to please you. Mm-hmm. Yes, I can hold my secrets. Sometimes I will ask that, like, I know you have to tell him that really bad. Can you write it down, or can you remember it to tell him as soon as I'm done talking? Mm-hmm. And I literally, after I'm done talking, I'm like, okay, you got 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Don't do that.
Right. Are you ready to go back? Right. Please. Right. Yeah. Because there are times where I need to text. Like, if I'm in a meeting, no one's telling me. If I'm in a meeting and I have to say something to someone, I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. You do it, you monitor how you do it, but you do it as adults. Right. So for me to think that the kids should have this control to ignore it when school is literally the only time to really be, it would be like, I want to be tortured in this room because they're going to get it out. It's either going to look like I'm telling him something, or me and you going to have it because you didn't let me.
Power struggle.
Right, exactly.
We don't have to. Let's not have it. Yeah. I would like peace. You have something you want to share? Oh, this is great. And let's just keep going. Right. I'm exhausted by doing that.
Right. But it's still, but it's not the same type of exhaustion that you would experience if you didn't allow that to happen. Right. Right? It's different.
Right. So it's just a tired, like, I have no energy to talk. I don't want to hear music in the car. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to tell anyone what I want to eat. I want every decision from by the time I get home to be already predetermined. Because I done made 1,000 decisions today,
Right. And it's only 4 p.m. at this point. Right.
At this point, it's 4 p.m. and I'm like, wait, I have to eat and then find something to wear. That's the struggle of a teacher. It's like I don't think they know what they do all day, so then they just kind of blink it out, and they, that's just him. They just become these things where it's like, no, like I can't do that. So I have to be mindful of how I'm dealing with this stress in this room, so that outside of it, I'm not just like going through like the motions of it. Very robotic,
right? Yeah. So, I mean, you talk about education looking different, right? Because education is really about learning and changing what the learning experience looks like. And so we start to see a little bit of that now on social media, where now teachers are recording what's happening in their classrooms. Right. I always wonder, do parents sign consent forms for that? But anyway, so
yes,
they do. Okay, good. So, so they do that, and so like they're making songs and rhymes and things like that. And so one of the things that I know that you've done is you've made songs, but you've also brought drama into the classroom, and you started to bring it into the classroom, and then you started to get your own program. So tell us a little bit about why you saw the need for drama in the classroom, and then the benefits that you saw in their daily performance.
Marguerite, the drama is so real in the classroom that I'm like, if I don't
already a drama,
it's so
right?
real that it's like, okay, let me structure this and know that these are characters. This is like, these are roles. What role am I playing? But what made me do it was, I'll never will forget this year, I had 22 boys in the class and 3 girls.
Oh, wow.
I then had 9 children with an IEP, and then the other children, the remaining 12 of them, like, it was like, okay, I just want to say behaviorally challenged, okay? So they were like, these children, they would come into the room, and I had another teacher, and I remember going home frustrated every day, like, crying to my mother, telling her I'm going to quit. Because it was violent. They were upset. They were doing whatever they could possibly do to express themselves, and it had nothing to do with her and I. Like, we were doing our best. It was literally whatever they were experiencing, this is what they thought of it. So I was going home upset. I was talking to administration. No one was helping. And then everyone was in this frustration mode of, what can we do? Like, it was like, whatever, figure it out on your own. We can't do anything. So I was feeling like alone in it, and I was feeling abused in it, and I was already taking writing classes in the city, acting classes, just because I love it. So I loved it. I belonged to a theater group called 68 Cents Theater Group, and I would just go down there, take classes as if I didn't have a career, and just get in it because I loved it, and it would allow me to go to work and be at work and be okay, because I'm doing everything that I love. But in this situation, I did not love it. It was like, I don't want to teach. I can't believe they tricked me, because I'm sitting here in this room full of these individuals that could care less about what I'm saying. You know, they have their own things going on, and I was struggling. So when I went to class, one of the scenarios were, write scenes about your life. And I'm like, write about my life? Didn't have time, stressed out with the job. I was taking the train to go to this class. So I took the 45-minute ride on the train, and I remember like, I had to do homework. So I started writing, telling people off. Now, I was telling them off in dialogue because we had to do this 15-minute segment about just what we're experiencing. So I was turning the people I was dealing with into characters, really talking about them, like not liking it, trying to see if I was going crazy. Like, okay, guys, this is what's happening, but this is what I'm seeing. Like, is this real? Because this is not what you guys say on TV. I don't see this anywhere, but this is what's happening. So I started kind of writing it, and I swear, like within the next 2 weeks, it just felt like therapy. It was like therapy. I would get up, I would perform it for 15 minutes in front of the class. It was so therapeutic that, because I was doing yoga in addition, but it was so therapeutic that I forgot the stresses of the 22 boys and the behavior issues. It became a thing where like, okay, well, the way I see you guys, you're not even issues anymore. So we're not even doing that.
Perspective just changes, right? And it just shows also how important perspective is.
How you look at things. It was like, okay, this is therapeutic for me. It allowed me to come in here and deal with you different. I wonder if children then would have the opportunity to have an outlet, even if it's the 5 minutes that they get to express themselves in any way, in any form, whether it be poetry, acting, writing, dance, or even sometimes improv, where I'm putting them on the spot where they get to see themselves. So it's like, I'm the teacher. I'm not telling you what to say. You now have to think of it. Who do you want to be?
How empowering is that, right? And that's what young people need at that age, right? Is to be empowered and to know that they can make decisions and be in control and be free.
That you have a voice, right? So while we're helping you mold it, it doesn't mean it's ours. It's not your mom's. It's not your it's yours. So even if I give them that 45 minutes of the opportunity, that would work. I ended up leaving that position and getting a Fulbright and going away for the summer to do the Fulbright and writing all of these research papers while I was away to the principal and superintendent. Like, this is why it works. This research shows this. This is why we should have it. And at the time, there's no theater programs in the Bronx. There's no funding for it. But money became available. The superintendent was really pushing arts, and she was like, well, you know what? Let's create that program and let's see how it does. And so it's in the 4th year right now. And it's totally fun. I'm like, am I even at work? Is this work?
Because you're enjoying it. So what's been the reception from the students' perspective?
Oh my God. So the perspective is this. Let me tell you this. If I want a lunch, I better go in my car. That's the perspective. If I'm going to the bathroom, I better look to see that the hallway is clear. Because now it's like, they associate me with the feeling. So the teachers are like, well, what are you doing in there? I'm like, no, there's no magic. I'm still I still get upset. I still get frustrated. I still talk to them and they don't like it. I still tell them things and they don't like it. The one thing is that they think that whatever their feeling is of empowerment that they're doing, they associate it with me.
Yeah.
So when they see me, it's just excitement because it's like, oh, you made me feel like that. But it's really them, but I just have the room for them to do it.
Right.
So, they're like, oh, we know we got that from you. So there's this pre-K girl who she's 3. And so when she sees me, she goes, hi, Miss Theater. Hi, Miss Stage. Hi, Miss Auditorium. She calls me all 3.
Oh, that's
and
so
she knows my
adorable.
name, you know? But I think it's so cute because she's 3.
Right, and that's what she associates you with.
Right. Yep, and cries every time she has to leave. And I'm like, I'm going to see you in the hallway. Like, I'll come to your class. And she's crying. And I know, because she's that girl. So she's the girl that's like, I can do it.
Right.
One day she begs me to sing on the mic some song that she knew all the way. And I'm like, we can't do that right now because I'm teaching, girl.
Right.
You see these other kids? And she's like, no,
this is what
I need
do.
it.
Right.
And so we had to have it, We're going to shut this down 8 minutes early and give it to her,
Right.
Yeah. Where else is she going to have a mic and a stage where she wants to, kind of show herself off? Every time I see her mother, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's speaking of their mother, right? What's some of the feedback that you're getting from the parents that are talking about maybe the difference that they're seeing in their own child or even their performance?
I love the parents. That's the part because, you have fear for the parents because parents have no idea who their kids are, right? So they have no idea. It's like they have this concept because that's their kid, but that's a whole separate individual, right?
Yeah.
Who then knows how to please you in front of you. So they do those things and then they go somewhere else and then they are expressing themselves and how they truly feel.
Yeah.
So the parents, I love the feedback because I've never had a parent that didn't trust me. I've never had an issue where I've called one, in the last 2 years, I maybe called one parent, and I only did that because I'm like, man, I said I was going to do it. So I kind of had to only keep my word because I said it. Other than that,
you said it as like a threat?
I said it not a threat, it was like a promise. Like if that happens, I have to.
Okay, got it.
Because at that point, we use, I don't have to go outside anywhere. So I know if you're doing that, it's not me. You're somebody that is so easy. So I want to kind of check in to see. And of course, things were happening with him at home that kind of did that. But it was like, okay, let me check to see because this is not you.
Right,
so,
not typical behavior.
Yeah, not like to create fear. Like, you do that, I'm telling your mother.
Okay.
If I have to pull that, I need to leave.
Yeah.
Because if I need to be in a room and I'm saying that I got to call someone else to help me with you, that might be an issue. You know what I mean? Like, I can't have that. Like, call someone else to help me with my job.
Right.
Like, no. So, I would say the parents' feedback has been great. What I loved was that right before break, one of the crossing guards came up to me. She goes, I wanted to talk to you. And I'm like, why? She was like, a parent came up to me and was like, well, who is Miss Freeman? And she was like, and I pointed her out. She was like, they were asking like, well, what's the big deal? My child won't stop talking about her. And I thought that was so great because I don't see her kid. So I don't even experience your child. This kid is going off of what other children now have said. I love it. You should see it. It's like I love it and then it's scary because any other adults sometimes have a hard time with figuring out like this kid tore up my room. Why is he sitting in here?
Right. And why is he in this luxury almost, right? Like, why does he get to have this luxury of having fun and being happy when they have made me so unhappy?
Let me tell you, they will take that from them. They will do things like this. If they are talking and they know the kids look forward to, like if they come in and they see the schedule, oh yeah, theater, the threat will be not if you don't finish your work or if you don't talk, we're not going. They will give up their 40-minute prep, their 40-minute break that they technically would have just to punish the kid.
That's about control,
right? Because at that point, do you not want your break?
Right.
You know what I mean? At that point, forget what they're doing. You technically need to prepare.
Right.
You're like, nope, I'll sit and I'll just deal because you don't need to feel that because you did this to me. See, that's the thing.
But isn't that like pretty petty?
Yeah.
But that's human sometimes, right? And it's when you're injured, you feel injured. That teacher feels injured by that kid. Look at this kid and what they did to me. My feelings are hurt now, right?
Yeah.
And now I have to use my power and my authority to kind of punish you and not allow you to enjoy the things that I know that you really enjoy because you deserve to suffer.
The way that I feel.
The way that I feel like I'm suffering.
Right. But parents do it too.
Right.
Right? But see, they get the pass for them is that that's their kid. So if you're like, I don't like when you did that, you go do, you can understand that. it's like, but this person is a human too. So she's at the point where it's like, if you guys are going to get this message, well, we don't realize that didn't work when the parent did it. It's definitely not going to work when you do it
as a teacher.
Because I think my perspective on it is if I'm having that reaction personally, then I feel like that's a clue for me that I need to do something. I need to step away from the situation and recenter myself. Like if I'm trying to take it out on a student in my classroom, I need to check in with me, and maybe I need to go to theater.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny.
Like maybe I need to like to do the teachers,
like that for teachers,
right?
Like as a professional development day, as a workshop,
and they do your program,
for,
right?
Teachers to express themselves about their own frustrations about what's happening in the classroom with the kids,
right?
With the parents,
and be able to kind of separate, like, because a lot of what I'm hearing you say, like separate the roles and the different hats and uniforms that we wear from, like, just break them up a little bit and to not get so overwhelmed by the totality of it all.
Right. No, it's you're absolutely right when you said the many hats.
Yeah.
So you're wearing these many hats in the one room that entire time
for each kid.
And then the parents who are sending their kids, they want that child's needs met. So it's not a case. It's not a case where everybody's like, I'm helping, I'll jump in. What do you need? You're not getting that. It's no support. Right. You're not getting it from the school and the system itself. You're getting opinions and views about what should take place in a room and what shouldn't take place without the understanding of what really is going on in that room.
Classroom.
Yes.
Right. That's so true.
It's not what you think, you know? Yeah. So, yeah.
Speaking about not what you think, right, and what's going on in the room.
Right. Like,
you talked about this writing that you were doing for this course and about what you were experiencing in the classroom versus what you were being taught about what to expect.
The lies they tell you to get you in.
Yeah. So you then turned that into a show.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about the show and how you wore these many hats of characters in this show.
So you see how you spoke about, you said something like, what was that year? Like, what was that year where you, like, were deciding about education? Or what was that year that was, like, your struggle that stuck out? Where I was speaking about the 22 boys and the 3 girls.
Yeah.
That year produced everything. Like, so I was frustrated. That's how the theater program then got, because then I started writing about it. But then I started writing about those same characters, and those characters are real people. So after one of the showings, after it was like 15 minutes that we had to do, the teacher who happened to be Ben Stiller's coach was like, you know, I'm Ben Stiller's coach and I'm going to California for a couple of weeks. I know that the class is over, but I want to develop this into something a little bit more. If you're willing to come to my house. She lived all the way down by Bleecker Street, which is all the way out of I lived in Jersey.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, I live down here, but if you're willing to come to Bank Street or meet me at the school, she taught at the School of Drama also. Okay. She was like, on the days I have available, we can develop it into something. So for like 3 years, I would go to her house. We would go to the living room. I would be writing more characters. We would talk about it because she's a teacher as well.
Okay.
She had a one-woman show. And I think it was What's Next with Karen Ludwig. And during her one-woman show, we would be talking, and she was like, I think this could be one. I'm like, yeah, but there's so many characters. She was like, yeah, but you're going to play them all. I'm like, what? She was like, you're doing it in my living room. When you talk to me and you're telling me about it, you then go into this voice of these people. Just do it. And so then we started, like, developing it for it to be a show.
Nice.
And then I worked with Matt Hooverman, and then it became 25 minutes, and then from 25 it went to 55. So it's a show about a teacher. It's a real true story about a teacher who, like, goes to school, gets all this education. She thinks she's going to, like, walk into this room and the kids are just going to listen and everything's going to be perfect, and that's not what happens. Like, she has these lessons that she comes in with, and her children show up with their own lessons. So it's like, and they kind of teach her a lot about, like, the kids told me a lot about myself, how much patience I really, really, really have, how understanding I really, really am, and they also show me, like, my control over my own energy. So there are days that I go in there and I may not feel like 100, and they know it, and they look at me and they go, "Why do you have that on?" And I'm like, and they're like, "You put your hair like that this morning?" And and they let me know, or like, what's your problem? Even if they do something where they know I normally may react like differently, if I react a way that they're not used to, it's like, well, what's going on with you?
Right.
You know, like, get it in order, because you said you got it together. You want me to have it together at my desk. Right. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, guys,
and these are second graders, right? At that time.
Oh my God, these are second graders.
Yeah, because children are intuitive, and then they're honest too.
And I'm in the South Bronx.
I was just about to say, in the South Bronx, right?
I'm in the South.
Of exposure and responsibility is so different for those young people. So you can't make little comments. They call you out on your stuff, call you out on your lives.
They're ready.
Yeah,
okay?
They stay ready.
They come in there and like there's no hiding. You know, you can hide with certain kids. You can go like this. Oh, keep up.
No, they're like, why are you talking like that?
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Tell me exactly how it is, and tell me what it is. And I
tried that voice on Savannah one time. Though. She was like, that's not your voice. Give me your real voice. Your real voice. And she's like, you're being funny with me. And I'm like...
And they don't want to play. That's the thing with children. While we want to trick them and play with them to get them to manipulate them to get them to do what we want, they don't like it. Yeah. You know, and then once they figure it out, they're like, oh yeah, I'm on to you. That's how you are? Well, I'm gonna meet you, and they're better than we are. That's why I'm not playing with anybody. I'm not making up no lies. Yeah, it's better take it easy on me, and we take it easy on each other. You know, like there's no separation here. I'm just a little. You know, I went to school. I've been here a little bit longer, but that's it. Like I feel like you feel. You know, so. The play was like, it's an expression, and it's an ode to teachers, like you said, with as far as the PD is concerned. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's to be used to justify the experience of a teacher, because we have no justification. Right. We should see the PDs they send us on. They're like, okay, you can do X, Y, Z in your room, and it's like, well, wait a minute, I can't do the 550 things that you gave me before. And every Monday you have something new for me to do, without saying, I know you're doing a lot.
Right.
And that
no validation of what I'm going
through. So it's like
no
you can go in there and just survival of the fittest if you can, or you can come out being angry. Like there were young teachers. I was young, going to bed at like 4:35, taking big naps. Young. So I thought it was me, until now there's a generation of teachers that are younger than me, and they're like, what do? I go home angry and I argue with like my friends, and it's for nothing. I'm just angry. And it's true, because you don't know how to come up and down. Like we're still people. Right. So if my role is to control the room, there's sometimes where I'm going to have to be frustrated with someone that may be violent towards someone else. I still have to experience that. Yep. I see the violence. I have to interfere with the frustration. That's still me. I'm still in this room, you know? So it's like, how do I then come out of it to go home and be this happy, productive wife, mother, sister? By that time, you're like, listen, whatever's going
to the cover.
Like I don't want to interact with anybody else.
Right. At that point, it's like,
it's just like.
So it becomes this thing of like, So my fear was that, like, okay, Alaina, you're going home and you're going to bed a little early, and why? You know, you literally are young. It's your job. It should not require this much. Why aren't they aware that this is what you're doing from 8 to 2:30 with no assistance? Like, no funding, no, you have a fight breaking out in your room, you need someone to break it up while you teach the others? No, do that all in that one room.
Simultaneously.
You know what I mean? Simultaneously. And then when they go to the bathroom, you better make sure nothing happens on the way there and in there. Right. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm in here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the level of responsibility that they give you, even mentally, even if you know really, come on, I can't control all of this.
Right.
Mentally, this is what they're telling you. So then you're still struggling with that in your brain, like, I'm responsible. And I'm like, man, somebody kiss a teacher, okay? Because there's too much on one person. It's unreal. I laugh when they come in there and they're like, oh, you got to do this. I'm laughing first, and they're like, oh, you're not taking this. Oh, I'm taking this serious. I'm laughing at you coming in here thinking that some more can happen, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you think would be, like, things that could realistically change to lessen the load of the teacher in the classroom? Like, what are like, you've lived this for a long time, but what do you think are realistic solutions to the problem?
So that's the thing. I think everybody thinks that there's always like this one solution. Like, you know what? If we then go train all the teachers, it'll be better. Well,
Yeah.
no, you know, because certain areas they're gonna have implements where in the community they're not better.
Right.
So then maybe they're gonna come in there and the stuff that you teach them they unlearn by the weekend. The week off, I already know the person I'm gonna have to be tomorrow because of that week off.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's one solution, but there are many solutions. I think, like as far as the basic understanding of like how children really learn, like, and that's them engaging, that's them talking and exploring on their own. We need more than one body in the room in order for them to really do that, in order to address those different needs. Like in my room, I do theater, so like some of the children are really, really good at acting, some of them are good at writing, and some of them I can say, let's design a set, and they will literally make stuff out of paper boxes. So these are the kids that you have in the room. They're all not the writers.
Right.
So how can we address all of those needs simultaneously? They came up with differentiated instruction. Well, now you're asking this one teacher to differentiate instruction for 30
Right.
kids.
It's crazy.
Yeah, one person can't.
One reads on a
Can't
level
do
A,
that, right.
three read on a level G, 2 on a K,
Yeah.
1 on a Z, 5 on a W. I'm sorry, you're speaking about 10 lesson plans, and you want them implemented in the room that day.
Not even humanly possible.
right?
Do you understand? So
Right.
it's like laughable. It's like, like this is crazy. But then you have those requirements where it's like, okay, if your grades aren't doing well, if your scores aren't doing well, we're looking at you. Why aren't you doing that? And what's going on in your room? And that's why the whole thinking behind it is like the system, the way it's set up, even how they scrutinize or view the teacher. It's
Right.
like, this is unreal.
Right.
The standardized testing where now we've learned all these things this one year, and now you have a test and you're speaking about acres of land. Well, they don't know acres of land.
Right,
They know
right.
buildings.
Right.
Right.
So if you had asked them something like that,
Yeah.
you could test their intelligence.
Right.
But now you're speaking of acres. We are not in
doing
Oklahoma.
that?
No
Right. Yeah. No,
so it's like it's
nobody
it's
in the city.
unfair. The testing's unfair. The way you scrutinize the teachers is unfair. The training for the teachers is unrealistic. It doesn't. It's almost non-existent, even if
Right.
it's there. The
There's
training,
no time for it.
Right.
no time for it. And then the type of training. So they're giving you more information for you to feed someone else without telling you how to deal with your own information for yourself
Right.
to be the person to deal with them. So I think it's like a whole system structure
Right, so,
that
I
would
mean,
have
yeah,
to be
it has to be like
redone again.
torn down and
Yeah.
built back up from
Yeah.
scratch. I mean, that and like a lot
And many
of
other
things.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So then the goal is to
sit
do
down.
what you can do.
Right.
So going to sit down and march to tear down systems, that might be an idea.
Yeah.
Or in this space and time in this room, this is what I can offer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing that, the kids see it. They know at my door, like when I'm absent, they'll eat lunch right in front of my door, and the teachers will walk by like, look at this. Like they know I'm not there, I'm not coming, but the thought is like, it's just like we know what we're getting
This is a
from
safe
you.
space. But
Right.
this is a safe space.
Right.
What
Right.
we represent is safety, and there are so many young people who are walking through our schools, through our hallways, feeling unsafe on the inside and just looking for that place,
Right.
That haven where they can go to and know that they're seen as who they are.
Right.
There's no like judgments, high expectations.
Right.
You know, I could just sit here and we don't even have to talk, right?
Right.
But being able to just be safe.
Right.
And I think that that's also a part of that returning, right? Is even if you're not there, I'm going to go to what represents the safety.
This area right here.
This space right here.
Right. And I love it. I love the little area. It's like where the arts are, the music there, the art teachers there. It's like this whole little corridor, and they know it. And they're like, we just need to have it. Your quietest kid, your shyest kid, it doesn't matter. And that's why when they come and observe me, they're like, this kid's talking, you know, or this person's. And I'm just like, yes. They don't want to do what they're thinking is for you. Like if they understand that everything is for them, they work a different way.
Right.
It's like they're little adults. And that really is the reality of it. So it's like you can't even approach them as how we're trying to. Oh, they're just, no, they're not. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
They're actually, a little bit smarter than
What
we
give them
think.
credit
For
for,
it,
right?
yeah.
That's
Always.
a fact. That's a fact.
Always. So you said you did one of the double majors was in English literature, right? And so now was that the foundation for you being interested in acting? Like where did that come from?
It's funny. I think my mother again in that too. Like when we were younger, she worked at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. So she made me, my cousin, and my sister this group. And I never forget my aunt named us, and we were called Hot Sauce because we were hot. right? So we would call hot sauce, and we would have to go and perform for the kids. So I remember one year Run DMC being there. Like, they had artists that would come, but before the artists came out, my mother's
You were the opening act.
my mother's children would come out, and it was always hot sauce. Could you imagine? Hot sauce, yes. So we would come out before it. It was fun. It was like a rush. I went to Pennington Grimes in Mount Vernon. Was in every single thing. I played the trombone, the drums, anything that had to do with arts. I got to high school and didn't. Middle school, I didn't. And I kind of was just like in school. I don't know if I was really finding my interest, but all of my friends from high school were in the arts. Rappers, some of them were getting signed at the time. Like, it was just like I was always surrounded in it.
By it.
Yeah. And then by the time I got to college, my first English education professor, I forget his name.
Mr. Hamilton, right?
No, but he had he was related something in Dolomite, and then had this niece, a famous actor, a black male actor, and he was related to him, and he was throwing plays at the school. And I never forget, because he would always do these lectures, and he was like, I don't care if you never come to my class, if you guys show up and help me with this production I'm having in the mornings and set up, I'll change your whole grade a grade. And I remember thinking, like, what? Going there one time Saturday morning, loving setting it up, loving the imagination. Like you have the thought and you get to create it. It doesn't exist. It's here, but then you get to watch it all kind of play out.
Yeah.
I loved it then, but just didn't pursue it, because at that time I'm like, okay, I didn't know how, I didn't know what, and I was already on track in school
for education.
Right.
But as soon as I got out, I then started looking up acting schools, but started working at the supper clubs. That became my form of like entertainment, because now I get to get dressed up every weekend. I get to like kind of be out. I started throwing parties. Like it had an entertainment company where we would throw parties and throw little events. So I've always been in the arts and entertainment, or loved it. Loved it, just loved it. I don't even know where the acting part came from.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't even know where that part, but as far as entertainment or the arts, I loved it. My mother's a walking character, so anything, I could literally just look at her and then just go by. Like, even when she talks, she gives like, you know, she just all of these things, and she's like moving, and I'm like, when I watch it, I'm like, what is happening in this head, you know? But yeah, so like I then started writing, because I always wrote. Like that was something that I always would do. Keep a journal, read, write, always, maybe not share it, but definitely always had a journal through college. Could definitely always express myself, probably better in writing.
Right.
So I was just like, let me go, take this writing class, and then it started going. I did a couple of videos, like would do videos when I first got home, but then I would see, I didn't necessarily care for the process of it, like the waiting around. Then I remember being lined up, and they pick you like that. And then if you're not doing certain moves or certain sexy things, and then based on my body type, there was a certain look where I was like, I really love it, but I don't know if I love it like that.
Like for the casting call type of experience. That's what you're describing. Okay.
I love like the entertaining part of it. I love the dramatics, the everything that comes with it, the staging. But what you guys are asking me to do, I may not. So again, I'm a teacher, so you can tell I like to control a room. What is more control than a one-person show? Like there's nothing. Yeah, like somebody was like, are you casting for people, or are you just gonna?
Nope, I'm gonna take over the whole show.
Yeah, I'm gonna be everybody. Exactly.
And then I thought about it. I was like, that's a lot. But then, as a teacher, every day that's it.
What is amazing? Like, you got to see the show. Like, so before we run out, right? When are you having another show? Because the shit is hilarious. Because I mean, I remember when you were doing it before.
The 15-minute. You came to that first one.
Yeah, and see it each time. Crack up laughing. You could hear my laughter in the audience.
The best part of it. Because once you hear it, I'm like, that's Lindsay. And I'm comfortable. It's like I'm talking to a friend now,
But to see kind of like that growth of, it was the 15 minutes, but forget about like how much time it was. It was about like what you were doing while you were there, the characters that you were kind of taking on, and to watch these characters kind of grow and expand a little bit to now this 55-minute show that you have. So when is the next one? Do you have a date yet?
I do. So April 4th is the next one, and it's going to be at the Producers Club. I'm waiting for a date for Ars Nova, and then I'm going to go to DC, and then I'm going to go to London, and I'm just going to go.
And just travel with it.
Yes, I'm going to travel with it. Yeah, because after the show, so the irony is that for the show, I actually won Best Comedy, and I remember sitting there saying, this is not funny. This is my life. Like, this is some real live stuff. And after winning Best Comedy, the director of it, he was like, you know what? We're gonna do an opening in London this September. Are you open to that? And I'm like, London? He's like, yeah, what you didn't know is that my mother's a teacher. She ran the whole program. And he was like, and I was at your show every night that you had it. He was like, so I really think it's important, and we want to help you behind that.
Too, right. No matter where you are in the world, you're gonna have this.
You know this kid. You know that security guard. You know that parent, and even though the teacher was just trying, but it looks like, what are you doing? Right. So I'm gonna have another one. The dates, as far as like DC, I know that's the summertime, and Ars Nova I don't have it, but April 4th in New York City. Yes.
So we gotta be on the lookout for that. So where should people look out for that?
So they can look out for it on my website. I have a website, and it's www. I was like, how many W's?
There might have been an extra W.
Okay, well, 3 W's, guys. At afreeview.com. That's AFREEVIEW.com. So, I kind of took my name, like Alaina Freeman, like you get like a kind of free view. I don't know.
That's dope. That's cute.
Or you can check on my Instagram. I have an Instagram at Cherry Lane, ChereeLayne. Okay, guys, I'm
just have to spell these things out. What's your phone number? Wait, hold on.
What is it? 914. I'm hiding, okay? I have 4 pages. So one is Miss Alaina, one is Freeman. I have to create these pages. To
get away from maybe some of the
kids. They find me. And I'm like, I'm not hashtagging anything school. How do you find me? And then they're commenting under my stuff. I see them watching my stories, and I'm like, so I have these other pages created that are safe.
Right. They just have some privacy.
Please. Right. Your teacher wears bathing suits. Bet you didn't know that.
No, they thought that you wore what you wear to work every day,
all the time. And I don't. Guys, she wears a bathing suit, and it's a little dangerous. Stay off the page, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, just please. This is what she does. And then, I can't. So I have another one that I sometimes allow certain kids to follow, and it's at the MisEducation of Miss Freeman. That's the title of the show, because I have been educated enough to know when I've been miseducated, where you guys are pulling a fast one on us. But I wouldn't take teaching away from let me be clear that when I'm speaking in reference of the education or the teaching, I'm speaking of the troubles of it, I wouldn't take away my experience of having it.
Right.
Those kids, the way that we kind of feed each other, I don't think I would be the same person, or even in pursuing or writing a show and thinking like London without that fresh energy of, you could do it, you could do it. Right. I'll come to them with an idea, and the next day the kids will come with it ready. Like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, but wait, what about, and they're like, no, let's do it. So I love how we feed each other. I love the parents. I love the experience that the kids give me, and I love everyone in the building that's trying to make it happen. I can say that now, you know what I'm saying, because I've done what I needed to do to feel like that. Right. My wish is for every teacher to then feel like that. So hopefully this is a show that can be taken to where they can see it, so that they can kind of look at themselves and say, well, maybe if I change the way I kind of think and my behaviors outside of work a little bit differently, maybe if I start to do the things I love and fall in love again, with what I love to do, I might be okay with working with children. I might be okay with putting my things aside to then help your growth, because I'm growing too. The stagnation is what makes then people feel like
bitterness and
and resentfulness. It's like, what about me?
Right. There's no outlets. They don't have an outlet.
Right. So the show is, please, let's find it. You know what I mean? Let's find it so that we can be better individuals for the people that we're in front of. I'm not saying do this, do that for them. You have to do it. It's like for yourself, for your own sanity, So
it's also
it just
a
benefits
story
everyone.
Right? Because it's inspiring people who have a job, right? To not just hone in on that, but to explore your own joys, your own happiness, your
Right.
own creativity, your own outlet, so that you can enjoy whatever that job is
Right.
that you chose to have.
That you pick.
Right.
Because I talk about that a lot at work, where people start complaining about the kids, and I'm like,
Why
you
you're
chose
here?
this work.
Right.
So remembering that you chose this, and at any point
For a
you can
reason.
unchoose
Choose
it,
it.
right?
Exactly.
And it's okay.
Right,
There's no
right.
love lost, but we got to just honor, where we are in that
The
moment.
choices, right.
Right. It may not be what you want to do right now.
Most people feel like that's where they ended up.
Right.
So like
Still a
wouldn't-
lack of
wasn't
control. That's why
purpose.
you have
Right,
people who just want to have control over everything.
Right.
You feel stuck.
Right.
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 But it's,
So you put that out.
But it's just, it's also, you got to remind yourself why you're in that role, right? Like just a constant reminder. Even if you feel like you ended up there, you got to kind of reassess and reevaluate.
Yeah, but if I'm stuck and I'm feeling bitter about ending up where I am, I can't even access that part of self-reflection
Yeah.
and self-assessment. That part is going to be a little harder.
Yeah, sometimes
But then
it might
think-
have to come from external.
Yeah, for sure.
But then think
sources,
about it.
for
When you're
sure.
stuck and you're right there and you feel stuck on your job, that's your relationship too at home.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
relationship with your man or your woman. That's the relationship
Because
with
you're carrying
everywhere.
it in your body.
You
Everywhere.
are right.
Yeah,
but then you're
everywhere.
stuck there. So it's like, how do you? So it's like sometimes we'll focus and we'll be like, oh, okay, well, I feel like it's the job. And it's like, nope, you're that person over there with your
Out the
friends.
job.
And it's like, okay, so then the goal is to, how do I become the person that I want to be or that I need to be, so that I'm not in a situation where the conversation of me being stuck doesn't exist.
Right.
Or my job on any level, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that is a case where people are like, I'm just stuck on my job and I'm just unhappy there. Well, if you kind of rewind,
It's carrying over for sure.
and I had to know that. Like,
Yeah.
Alaina, okay, you're saying it's the kids and it's just that, but it's like, no, you're probably not happy because this didn't go right for you. You're not happy because when you put your money up for the business, this is how it failed. Or maybe there are other things that you struggle with. So now when that kid is on the floor and you're saying get up, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But no, deal with those other things. Deal with the many other things that you should feel fulfilled, so that when these things happen, you realize those are things happening in addition to whatever else is taking place.
Yeah.
Once that happens, those things don't exist anymore. That kid won't even go on the floor.
Right.
In your
Because
presence.
you're also putting out that energy, right?
Absolutely.
So you can shift that energy, then your experiences change.
Or everything about it. I haven't had one fight in the classroom. I don't think everything about my experience in that building has changed to the point to where I am going to start doing PDs for teachers. But for me, I feel like it was a long personal process.
Yeah.
So I was willing to do things like give up television or give up things that I was committed to. Not everybody is willing to do that.
Right.
And not everybody
Gotta do the
can
work.
do that.
Yeah.
They have other situations. I had the opportunity to just focus on myself. Everybody may not be that afforded that, so they have to have things in their life. Maybe their spouse listens to that music even though they're trying to block it out.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But baby, let me tell you,
It's work that you also enjoy doing. And I think as a parent, who has a child in the education system, I'm grateful that there are teachers like you. And I hope that, in my child's school, that there are teachers like you. Like my daughter's teacher right now, she's way better than the teacher we had last year.
Okay.
I mean, it's like a known fact that
Right.
the kids in the first grade class did not enjoy the first grade teacher, as well as the parents, right?
Yeah.
So just as a parent, thank you for what you deposit into the community and into the lives of young people, because you are planting a seed, whether you see that tree, right, grow, or you see that young person grow, just as you're able to remember who your second grade teacher is,
right.
those kids will be able to remember who you are,
Right.
and they will be able to say your name just as quickly. So
I love it. And
thank
then I
you.
teach on Freeman Street.
Oh,
So the
look at
kids
that.
are just Freemaned out.
Right. Look
They're like,
at
I
that.
live on your street. I'm like, yeah. Like, it's
So
just
dope.
like this all alive. Like, it's just all this thing. Like, I
Right.
can't explain it. I'm like,
Yeah, universe is dope.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks
Alaina.
for having me.
And now it's tea time. Alaina's going to hit us with the tea.
Yes. When we teach others, we learn about ourselves. And when we learn about ourselves, we grow.
Yes, and the E is for Explore your talents, gifts, and interests to own the stage of your life.
Yes.
And the A is for art. Art can shift your perspectives, y'all.
Yes, it can.
So thanks for listening. And if you haven't already followed us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, please make sure to do so at Necessi-Tea podcast. Thanks for listening.
Bye.